Hey everyone, I got an exciting show for you today. I teased it on this morning's daily financial news, and this is going to be someone who follows the channel and has achieved financial independence by 40. Yes, you heard me right. He achieved financial independence by 40. He's also a commissioned Navy officer and a follower of the channel. Let's welcome Rolled into the show. How you doing, sir?
Very well, Michael. Thank you for having me in this morning. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for reaching out. I love to share stories. You never know who you can inspire. So I love anybody who's watching this that has a great real estate story. Reach out. Let's get you interviewed. Enrolled in. Thank you for doing that. That is awesome. So let's introduce the audience to who you are, what you do, and we'll get started.
Yes, sir. So my name is Roldan Crespo. First of all, I'm not Russian or anything like that with my accent. Pretty much born and raised in Puerto Rico. Came to the United States about 15 and a half years ago, right after finishing college in the University of Puerto Rico. Relocated to Tampa, Florida. I mean, with a lot of dreams, pursue of the American dream, a better quality of life, opportunities. Well, all my family is still in the island, and until today, they're still in the island. And yeah, I mean, shortly after, pretty interesting story. I thought $800 were gonna last forever. When those savings start running out, I just needed to find a job right on the corner within walk distance on a convenience store, and that's pretty much how my journey started here in the U.S. A
That's
few
amazing.
months later, I was able to receive an opportunity as a social worker for the Hillsborough County school system, and yeah, since then, always it's been progress and moving forward. But I knew very clearly that I wanted something more. And one day I came across a naval officer. And we started talking very informally about life in general. And he offered me the opportunity to join the armed forces back in 2009. So I did my diligences and I got selected for the officer candidate school program in Newport, Rhode Island. And yeah, since then, I have not turned back. It's been
That is awesome.
adventures.
Thank you. And for anybody watching this that has served, is serving, or will serve, serving in the American Armed Forces is something that I will always respect. It's actually where my mother and father met. Mom's in the Navy, was in the Navy. Father, I guess you're always a Marine, is what I'm told.
Right.
So he's always a Marine. And again, I wouldn't be here without those two meeting, to serve. So it's always a special spot. So thank you for that. Why don't we talk about, so now you're quote unquote employed. You have a career, right? Being a Navy officer, it's very likely you'll do what's called your 20, right? To use
Mhm.
slang, which means you get a pension, I guess is what it's called when it's over. Um, but when does this financial independence kick in? Because yes, being an officer in the Navy is a great career, but financial independence by 40, that journey starts somewhere. So where does that fire begin?
Yes. So I would say I was in my mid 20s, probably 25, 26 years old, which was a few years before joining the armed forces. Um, I grew up in a very humble family. Sometimes your story relates with mine because my mom pretty much was, I mean, everything for us. She worked very hard to raise three children, and since a very young age, pretty much I started to work, kind of like instead of her buying me expensive shoes, if I needed the Nike flights where I needed to mow the grass, I needed to wash cars from my relatives,
Yeah.
and understand how to pretty much save money and spend it wisely and things like that. So I think because I started very, very young, by my mid 20s, I was kind of like getting burned out of working for others. And tracing back a little bit, my maternal grandma, I never seen her work
Oh,
uh, for anybody, but she owned rental properties. And that did not sink in with me until maybe my early 20s. And that pretty much showed me that there were other ways to self sustain.
that's very cool. So let's talk about grandma for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it was in Puerto Rico, right, where
Correct.
she owned. And do you remember her, or did you go with her to like work on the properties, or collect rent, or
Yes.
was she acting? Okay, so let's talk about that, because that's precious.
Yeah. So I'm the eldest of three grandchildren, and maybe because of that, I was always the first one to get exposed to certain things. But yeah, I remember on summer breaks or on long weekends, helping her doing something
Yeah.
about the rental properties, even pulling weeds or rearranging things or painting walls. And she didn't compensate us that great, but candies were awesome always. So
Hey,
I
candy is currency when you're young.
oh yeah. At the age of 7, 8 years old, you don't ask for anything better.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck with us because at times my mom went through some difficult financial times in the mid 80s, late 80s, and my grandma was always there to somehow back her up. And
Uh-huh.
later on, I understood was from rental income.
Yeah.
So that really stuck with me. Um, I saw that she had the ability to pretty much travel whenever she wanted, or is that sort of really freedom?
Yeah. So let me tie this together. So you get exposed to your maternal grandmother at before you're 10.
Hmm.
You're enlisted as cheap labor
Hmm.
as you're a child. You
Hmm.
then go to university in Puerto Rico. You graduate. You move to the continental US, right? Tampa.
Right.
You think you're going to live on $100 forever. Not happening. You get a job, right, at a convenience store. Then you are helping kids, and
Right.
then you get into the military. Okay,
Right.
that's the story, right, to where we got. So
Yeah, pretty much.
when does the idea for you go? Okay, I'm now 25 or 26.
Hmm.
I need to do what my grandma did. When does
Yes.
that light bulb go off?
So just before I joined the military, I was at the point of deciding, okay, do I pursue my master degree so I increase my income because I have more education, so I can save more and start investing more aggressively. And at the time is when the opportunity to join the armed forces comes up, and I learned that as a naval officer, we get promoted automatically the first 6 years, every 2 years. So I saw that as an opportunity to, okay, if I adjust my expenses and I adapt my lifestyle, all my pay increase is money that's going to be working for me. And that's pretty much what I did my first 6 years very intentionally. And matter of fact, for anyone out there serving in the armed forces, I challenge them, right? We actually get two pay increase every year. The day we enlisted or join the forces, and whenever we get promoted. But not even that, our president increases the armed forces salary every January 1st. It
Nice.
might not be much, but it's something. So I put that money to work for me.
That is very, see, I love this story, right? Because one of the things I talk about all the time is not having lifestyle creep, which means when your income goes up, your expenses don't. And the more time goes by, the larger that gap becomes, which means it falls to the bottom line. You save it. And then if you start doing your homework, you can invest it. And then your money is working as hard as you are, which is really the key to this story.
Correct.
Very
So
cool.
at the time, I always thought I could go back to Puerto Rico. Many people told me, okay, you're gonna do 20s. And I was like, well, might not. Um, Never's been my motivation. My motivation has been more like by age 40, be completely financially independent, make my own decisions. So I started investing in properties in Puerto Rico, small single family rentals. Eventually, I was able to even buy all the properties from my grandma through pretty much seller financing terms.
Shout out grandma.
Yeah, yeah, thanks to her, I accelerated my portfolio.
Yeah.
But when it comes the time to be not only a landlord, but someone who is making a difference in the community, I think there's no better vehicle than real estate, because it allows me to directly impact families uh, for generations, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. One of the things, well, let's just have this conversation. Most people get into real estate investing because of money, right? Whether it's quick profits with a flip or a wholesale, or there's visions of retirement and mailbox money. That's the vision that sparks interest. But when you're in the game, maybe at least 5 years, you realize that you are truly impacting neighborhoods. And when you impact neighborhoods, you impact families. And you're right, this can go on for generations. So I applaud you for that. So let's talk about Puerto Rico a little bit. I've been there twice, I think. It's a beautiful area, but I have no idea what real estate costs. So can you talk about maybe your first deal that you bought, just so I have some context?
Yeah, so I think it has to depend, like you very well talk, it has to do about the local market. So
Yes.
I particularly invest in the area where I grew up, in the center of the island, in the mountains area. So very humble beginnings, right? There are neighborhoods, but I guess the acquisition over there does not compare anywhere with uh, the main cities, like in the capital San Juan, or surrounding cities like Bayamon or Carolina, which those tend to be a little bit more similar on prices to suburban here, United States, or Florida, which is the market that I know the most. But my first property in the mid 30,000s, uh, 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bathroom, very accessible, pretty much all cash from savings, which immediately uh, is that kind of gratification of full cash flow.
Yeah.
There's all this residual income, which I simply put to work into the properties or continue increasing my savings for the next opportunity.
Yeah. So let's break this down a little bit, because I really want to peel this back a little bit. So
Yes.
first and foremost, how long did it take you to save 30 grand? Because that needs to be respected, right? That likely took you years. How long did that take?
Yes, a little bit over 2 years
Yeah,
after joining the armed forces.
that
So
that's awesome.
yeah,
Congratulations.
I remember, because my first promotion to lieutenant junior grade, that was kind of like a treat for myself.
That's awesome. All right. So it took you a couple years. So again, people realize that this game, learning a market, looking for deals, it can take time, because, we all have to save and have the down payment, or in this case, cash purchase. So 30 grand, 2 bedroom, 1.5 bath, in the mountains, it sounds like. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, in the mountains. Does that mean like,
Very rural,
yeah, okay.
mostly farms, population of greater than 12,000 people.
What
in the
did you
area.
get rent for that?
Oh, $350 a month.
Score, $350. Okay. Now, when you bought it, was it, did you have to invest in it, or was it already habitable?
It was habitable.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right. So you bought it for 30 grand. You started renting for 350. So 350 times 12, it's like 4,200. So, that's, taxes and all that stuff. So it's a 10%, 8% yield, something like that. That's
Yeah.
good. Very, very cool. Okay. Now I'm curious, could you have gotten a loan on it, or because of the small amount, or because it's in Puerto Rico, a loan wasn't an option? I have no idea.
Yeah. It would have been very difficult. It would have been more like a personal loan,
Ah,
and
okay.
the interest rates would have been
Silly.
nothing like a
Okay.
mortgage. And,
All right. So you get your first deal done. You're now a landlord. You're in Puerto Rico. That you're feeling good. What year
yes.
was this?
2012. Yes, sir.
Okay.
2012.
Uh, I remember Puerto Rico, and forgive me, I just remember from memory, was hit by a pretty nasty hurricane.
Correct. 2017, the
Okay.
most recent one.
So
Yeah.
so let's talk about that. So how many properties did you have before the hurricane?
7.
Okay. And again, forgive me, I'm just going from what I saw on the news. The hurricane comes, you've got to be, well, first off, you got to be afraid for your family, right? Because you said
Oh,
your
yeah.
family's on the island. So let's
Uh,
give that a shout out. But then once you figure out everybody's okay, then you probably as a landlord are going, oh, my house is still there, right? I mean,
Right. So
how does that happen? You send a family member, hey, buddy, go see if my 7 houses are still there?
yes. So my mom happens to be my property manager as well. She pretty much does everything. Um, yeah, it was very scary. I had just made it about 3 weeks into Japan, and there was also the time difference and the lack of communication. So it was a little bit difficult, but everyone was safe. Uh, the properties are built on concrete. We live on high ground, so no issues with flooding or the ocean taking over, because we live in the center of the island and where most of my tenants live. So no big losses.
Okay, good. Did you have, I don't know what is there such a thing as hurricane insurance? I mean, do you have that?
Yes, there's insurance.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. All right. I didn't know. I don't have hurricanes in Fresno, California, so I have no idea. All these new things I'm learning. All right. So you survived the hurricane. Okay. Um,
Financially, yes.
yeah, financially. Okay. And then, kind of the aftermath, after all the horrible of no electricity and food and water, which was just tragic. I don't think the continental US did enough to help Puerto Rico. I'll just put that on record. But I believe there were some tax incentives created to buy more real estate, I believe. Is that
Right.
true? Do I remember that right?
Yes, I have looked into that opportunity zones.
Yeah.
Yeah. No applicable for Puerto Ricans.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. All right. So 2017, so I guess one thing I failed to ask, so you had 7 houses in 2017. What was your total rent collection roughly at that point? A month?
Uh, close close to 4,000.
Okay. So about 4,000 gross, about 50K a
Yes.
year, roughly.
Yeah.
So now when do you achieve financial independence? When does that happen?
So I came from a 2 years deployment in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
That was a time of pretty much pause all real estate investments. And I just came back on February 2019.
Okay.
So a little bit over a year ago. And I invested some more in Puerto Rico, and I started investing here in Jacksonville,
Oh, wow.
Florida, where I'm currently stationed. And yeah, I mean, not many debts, right?
Yeah.
Only good debt out there. So I felt pretty comfortable to pull the trigger and request the transition to civilian. I would
Nice.
say financial independence was achieved about 8 months ago.
That is awesome. Well, first off, congratulations. Financial
Thank
independence takes planning, solid execution, and time. Everybody wants it today or they want it yesterday. It takes time.
Discipline.
And discipline. Thank you for saying that. Absolutely. Consistency and discipline.
Yeah.
So 8 months ago, you had what did you have? So you had at least 7 in Puerto Rico. Sounds like you had a couple more.
Right. I had 10 in Puerto Rico, 3 here in Jacksonville, and a
Nice.
few more on the making
Wow.
here in Jacksonville.
So in Jacksonville, tell me about your first deal in Jacksonville.
That was a joint venture. So I studied the market for a while. I was stationed here previously from 2009 through 2013, but kind of like that back of my head, I'm gonna return to Puerto Rico someday.
Right.
So I started investing in Puerto Rico, but at the same time exploring, learning the market here, seeing some of the similarities as far as acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the beauties of this part of Florida is rents are pretty much above the medium.
Okay.
Compared to other parts of Florida, like South Florida or Central Florida.
Okay.
But the acquisition is much more manageable, accessible.
So what was that first deal? 100 grand, 80 grand,
Uh,
60?
50,
50. Wow.
50 grand.
All right. So what'd you buy for 50 grand in Jacksonville?
A corner, one storage townhouse, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Okay. So what,
Yeah.
so 50, was this cash again, or did you get a loan?
Cash.
Dude, you are a cash machine. Congratulations. You're saving,
Well,
saving, and saving. That's good. Yeah, yeah. And it's a joint venture, so maybe
joint
not all your,
venture.
yeah, maybe not all your cash. Okay, so 50K.
Right.
What did it rent for?
Right now it's renting for 1,040.
Wow, 50K purchase, 1,000 rent,
I put
1,040.
about 21 on renovations
Oh,
and
okay, so
improvements.
it
Yeah.
needed work, right? Make ready, right? Okay, so
Yes, but make ready for hopefully the next 20 years. Stay ready.
amen to that. And you also said it was a townhouse, so it probably means you have homeowners association or HOA.
Right. With no HOA.
Oh, you don't have any HOA.
No,
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't like that.
Yeah, me neither. It's like a mortgage you can't pay off. Yeah. Very, very cool. All right. So now you have financial independence now, 8 months ago, 45. Congratulations.
Thanks.
What's the future hold? Because again, you're not retiring early, right? You're going to keep going.
No,
You have time is your call. You have your choices. I'm going to guess since you're 11 years into your career, you're probably going to complete your 20.
correct. By the time I finish this next commitment, I'll be close to the 15 years mark.
Yeah.
So most rather
Yeah.
do
Why
a
not?
few more tours and
Yeah. I've known many
the
military
50.
folks who've done their 20 and they're very happy that they did. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
But I guess the real estate fund's not going to stop, right? You have bigger visions and plans there as well.
Yes, definitely. I have met phenomenal people here in the Northeast Florida, in the Jacksonville market, more specifically, where we was started from a joint venture has grown to, I mean, pretty much exploring now the new construction aspect.
Wow.
So acquiring lots at very, very discounted prices, and it's all about networking,
Yep.
talking to the right people, showing the credibility that comes with about 10 plus years of experience investing. And yeah, we have decided to establish a new company,
Mm-hmm.
start doing new construction, affordable, quality housing for blue collars families.
That is awesome. So as we kind of wrap this up, I'm gonna summarize what I took away from this conversation, but I'll ask you for what are your keys, because people need to hear this story, right? Coming from Puerto Rico, financial independence by 40, it's awesome. This is what I took away. In your example, first and foremost, financial independence is achievable. It's achievable for anyone if they decide to work at it, right? It's a plan, it's execution, it's making hard choices, right? As your income rose, you chose on purpose to save the additional funds and live consistently. It's frankly what I tell high school seniors all the time. If you can live on $2,000 a month, which every high school senior says yes, because they have no idea what stuff costs,
Right.
right? You can be financially free in 5 years, right? $2,000 is not much, in rental properties to make happen. So financial independence is possible. You have to make a choice. It has to be consistent. You can do it anywhere. You did it in your home of Puerto Rico. You've now brought it back to Jacksonville. And the last thing I'll say is once you have financial independence, options open up, right? You're talking about doing new construction. You're talking about joint venturing. Once you have the freedom where the pressure of paying your monthly bills is off you, it's amazing what can happen. Creativity, network, and just future options. So that's what I took from the conversation. What would you like to tell people as we wrap this up?
So I read a lot. One of the ways I learned English was reading the booklets on the CDs and reading closed caption on cable TV. So back then, on my teenagers years, started with the mindset. I started like being intentional about where do I want it to be, not necessarily knowing where I was going, but I knew where I wanted to be. And as time comes, right, I didn't grow up in the perfect environment. Things were not handed to me. So I think we could be either our major obstacle or our major drive, right? It needs to come within us because people can read that. And when you come across with integrity, with that drive, that desire to succeed, those who surround you will pick on that and they're gonna give you that lift. So I think I've been very lucky, but I know I've also put the work into it. So I encourage anyone who had the aspirations to achieve whatever they want to achieve that might be impossible. I challenge them and tell them that it's possible. Surround yourself with the right people, behave in ways of integrity, and keep a positive attitude. And definitely things are attainable.
That's awesome, man. Thank you very much for all you do. Again, thank you for serving. I love this conversation. You're one of my heroes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure. Thanks for everything you put out there for those of us who are experienced, for those who want to start it but don't know even where to start. Thanks for all the content you put out on a daily basis.
You
Very
got it.
appreciate it.
You got it, man. Thanks again.